Hey guys, it's Rachel here at From Moments to Milestones, and I'm going to put together today's paper pad card kit that we did in class today. This is featuring the Cartabella 6x6 paper pad, the Flower Garden paper pad, beautiful colors, pinks and greens and blues with some black. So these are the 7 cards we're going to put together. If you get the kit, you will get instructions with pictures and a supply list at the back. So we will go ahead and get started. And our first card is going to be this Welcome to the Neighborhood. So the first thing we're going to do is put the black cardstock onto the white card base. Okay, and now we have this pink, kind of, it's not really plaid, but pattern paper. And we're gonna put that down centered. Okay, and now you have the flip side of this pink paper that has all of these pretty windows on it. So we're just gonna flip that piece over and line it up on the right-hand side. Okay, and now we're going to build up this little frame here. So the black is going to go straight down. So we're just going to center that on there like so. Okay. And then this piece we're going to put right here, but I'm going to put that up on some foam. I'm removing the backing, and then I'm going to put this frame down over that black square. Okay, and now this little piece is going to fit right inside there. Before I do that though, I don't know if you can tell on this card I have added glitter. I'm going to get that. And today I'm using Art Glitter 114 Leaf is the color. Very fine glitter. So I'm going to take this glitter and I'm just going to take the glue. I don't know if it's started yet. Let me see. Yep. And I'm just going to kind of, you could just go in a line around it, and I'm just going to kind of put some dots. I don't want to cover up the little flowers that are in there, if you can see that. And then I'm just gonna spoon the glitter over that. Tap off the excess. And that's what we have, and then that will go inside. Then I also, on this card here, I picked up, and I did the same thing on these 2 wreaths here that mimic that window. I mean, you could just choose to pick the flowers in the window boxes or whatever you wanted to do, but I just tried to dress it up a little bit. So I'm going to do that same thing with the glue, and we'll just put the glitter on. Add a little bling to our project, and then I'm going to go ahead and put down, I'm just going to put that down like that and put down that little square in the center like so. And now I need to put the sentiment on. So what I didn't tell you about your kit is that you're going to have a little sandwich bag like this, and it's going to be full of little banner strips with sentiments stamped on them in black. And each card used a sentiment from here. So you're gonna, you'll have the option to flip your sentiment, change it around, make it work for what you want it to work for. But I just put them all in the bag because what it is Tailored Expressions. I'm gonna show you real quick. It's a stamp set. This one's called Simple Strips Background, and they have several different ones, but it has all of those different sentiments on there. So it's a red rubber stamp. And then what you can do is buy this die, and once you stamp them, you're going to put that die on top, line it up with those marks, and then you get all these at once. So each kit got one full set of these to use and play with. So I'm going to look for Welcome to the Neighborhood, and here it is. And I will put these aside for our next card. And I did pop this one up on foam as well. I'm going to peel off the backing. Oops, looks like I got a little glitter on there. Glitter everywhere, that's what happens when we use it. All right, and so that is just going to get centered under that little window. And that will complete that card. The next card is You Are Simply Fabulous. And sometimes you have some things on a Post-it note so we don't lose them. I'm just going to stick them up here so we don't lose them. And on this card, what we need to do is kind of add a little bit of dimension to our butterfly. Now you could just glue this as is if you don't have this ink or a coordinating ink, and it'll be just fine without the inking. But I'm going to dress it up a little bit. I have Speckled Egg Distress ink and a dauber. Get out a coffee filter here so I don't dirty up my work surface. And what I'm going to do is on the solid piece, I'm going to start in the center and lightly do circles and kind of work my way out. Oh, this is really inky. Maybe a little bit darker than what I intended. And so you're going to want to be darker in the center. Now obviously it'll dry back a little bit when it dries. Okay, so darker in the center, lighter as we work our way out. And then you can kind of see the effect that has. Now you could leave it like this if you wanted to. I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing to this portion of my butterfly. So now on my butterfly, you'll notice that his antennas are black. That is an option if you want to do that. In class today, we just used a black alcohol marker and just went over it. So you could leave it blue, or you can take any kind of black marker and just go over the antennas like so, because we're going to glue this black body over it. Now we did cut these antennas kind of in error, but you could absolutely trim those off and use those instead. You'll have to glue them on. These actually are the antennas that are meant, this is a Lawn Fawn butterfly set. If I cut right here, in the set is included a die that will cut the body that looks like it's from the side, and these are the side antennas. So you can use those if you want. It's an option. I'm actually just going to set those aside. And I am going to glue on the black body. So I'm just going to put a little adhesive there. And glue my body on. And it should line up on the bottom there as kind of a mark. That's why wet glue is nice. You got a little wiggle room. And then I'm going to go ahead and put adhesive on the back of this one and glue it to the solid piece. I'll line right up. And there's the butterfly. And now we can put the rest of the card together. So we're going to start by taking this piece here, this gingham piece, and I'm going to put foam on the back. All right, I'm going to pull off the backing. And then this is going to go right onto the white card base. Make sure it's opening correctly. And it's going to have a very thin white border. So I'm just going to get that lined up at the bottom. And the rest should work out. There we go. Now you have this white opening, so this is the flip side of what we cut out. And we're just going to flip that around and tuck that right inside. So there's that. And now we have this white stitched square scallop frame. And we're just going to put adhesive on that, put that on the outside. And it's a little bit, I kind of like this gingham paper because you can use the lines to get it, make sure it's straight, as it's a little bit smaller than the window. All right, and so then we're going to put our butterfly in there, and we're going to need to put some foam behind it because we have him, because our frames popped up. And I'll just put some wet glue on that portion. And right here he goes. And then the last piece will be our sentiment. So I'm going to dig that one out. Our Simply Fabulous. Or you are celebrating with you today. There's lots of options. That's kind of cool. I think this could even work as a baby card for a little girl. Welcome, little one. Get this off here. Okay. And this I just glued straight down, so I'm just going to put some adhesive on that. And again, using the, I'm going to tuck it under my butterfly a little bit so it all feels connected. And that completes that card. Okay, our next card is "Thank you for being so sweet." And we have a little bit of inking to do before we start putting the card together, so set some of this aside. So really what we want to focus in on is the greenery and the flowers. So some of your flowers are stuck on this blue post-it note, and they are blue, so they may be hard to see, but they should be there. So this is what we have. And I'm going to start with the blue. We're going to use that same speckled egg. Oh, I'm throwing stuff around. All right, the same speckled egg. And on this one, I'm just going to come up from the bottom and a little on the edges. And this one I'm going to go a little bit darker so it stands out. Well, you could obviously flip-flop that, whatever works for you. And then that piece is going to layer on top like so. Okay, so that one's good. And for the pink flowers, and then these little buds as well are pink on the other side. We're going to use Tattered Rose and a dauber. And I'm just gonna do the same. You can hold it and ink it. You're gonna notice a lot on this darker pink, so if you don't want to do it, you don't have to. This is actually getting a little bit more color on there. And then on the lighter pink, you'll be able to see a little bit more. I'm just gonna go around the edges, and then I'm gonna do a little bit in the center. Then you have these little, we called them little heart looking pieces, and this is actually the let me see, how does that work? Yes, the little the point goes at the bottom where we also inked, so I'm going to ink the pointy part of these. And before I lose any of those little ones, I'm going to go ahead and glue those together. So you're going to put them with the crown upside down, and I'm going to put a dot of glue on each one. Okay, and then I'm going to use my jewel picker, and I'm going to pick that up. I'm going to upside down like so, and that's how it's going to go on, just like that. So if you can see, what it will look like when you're done. All right, so you can see on mine, I put them upside down. Would anybody know? No, they wouldn't. So really, if you don't do it right, it's really going to be okay. All right, so those are done, and now I'm gonna, while I'm at it, I'm gonna put this lighter pink on, and there kind of is a right way. It will line up perfectly. Kind of this one petal kind of juts out more than the others. And then this piece, and you can use foam here if you wanted to have some added dimension, but I'm just gonna glue it on. And then one last step with the inking. I'm going to use Bundled Sage Distress Ink in a dauber. And I'm going to dress up the greenery a little bit. So you have this leaf, and these are the veins that go on the leaf. So I'm going to take Bundled Sage and just make that vein piece darker. Okay. And then on the leaf itself, I'm just gonna come in from the bottom and just go about halfway up. And I'm gonna leave that one alone, but this one here, I'm gonna kind of come up from the bottom and just try to catch the bottom. If I don't catch all of it, it's fine. Just adding a little bit of dimension, something to make it not look so flat. All right, so all that's ready to go. So now we can put our card together. So we'll start with the black cardstock, and we're gonna put that onto the white card base. Okay, and then the black and white stripe is gonna go on top. You'll have a thin black border. Okay. Now we have a blue circle, it's a scallop circle, and we're gonna center that. Looks good. And now the floral circle, and there kind of is a right way to these flowers. These look upside down because the leaves are pointing down, so if that matters to you. And then we're gonna put that in the center. And then the thank you is going to go on top. So I'm going to put some wet adhesive on the back of that and get that down. Right in the center. All right. Now on this one we have for being sweet. The actual sentiment does say thank you for being so sweet. And we're just going to cut off the thank you, or kind of tuck it under here behind the flowers where we won't see it. So you kind of want to use that as a guide as you build up these floral images over here. So I think what I did is cut off the thank. I left the U so I had something to tuck if I needed to. I'm going to go ahead and get that where I want it. That looks good. And now I can build up the rest. So I do have this pink flower and the blue both on foam. And this is coming down here. So I'm going to put some wet glue just on the end. And I don't want to cover up the 4. So I'm going to do just, well, about like that. Okay. And then this piece pops up here. You might want to play around with the placement before you really start nailing stuff down. That's going to go something like that. And then you have this leaf, which we didn't do. We need to put that vein on. I'll do that real quick. And that's going to pop up from back there. So I'm happy with that. And this one. Now on these I only used these top 3 So before I glue it down, I'm just gonna cut those off so that they aren't sticking out weird and I don't have to worry about it. And then I'm gonna put foam on the back of those. So I put one on this one. It's gonna go, whoops, yep, something like that. I'll make sure I can still see the 4, so you might have to play around with that a little bit. All right, I'm going to tuck this guy in there. And then the last will be those 3 little flowers are going to go on those little ball ends. I'm being a little generous with that middle one so that those stick down. So the crown part goes down or up like I did in my card. I actually don't think there's a wrong way. And that completes that card. Okay, this next card, happy birthday to you. This one has lots of pieces, so you may want to be careful when you're dumping it out so we don't lose anything. There's post-it notes with flowers on it. There's butterfly bodies, the little veins. So, okay. So we're going to start with that same inking that we did before. So the same thing with the pinks. We're going to use Tattered Rose. And then on here I have those littler, the smaller flower. And then you have these little starburst looking flowers. Which there should be 3 of those. I'm going to ink those up. All right, the pink flowers are done. Now I'm going to move on to the greenery. Just like the last one, I'm going to get these 2 vein pieces and make them darker and just do the bottom half of the leaf. And then the same thing with these greenery. Okay. And you can do these if you want, if you feel like they're too light, but sometimes there's always variation in all greenery. So if you're gonna leave it light, leave it light. I'll add some to those. And you have these 3 little daisies. I'm gonna leave those there for now. There's nothing we have to do with those. So I'm gonna go ahead and layer things up. So I'm gonna start with these veins. There's the other. These little flowers. We have flower center. A little too much glue. Okay. Now on this one, this piece is going to line up exactly. It's done. And lastly, this 5-petal flower here. Put that on there. All right, the only thing I did differently with the greenery here is this, one of these I cut in half. So I'm going to come down and cut it just like that. I'm going to have 4 leaves on the one and 5 on the other. All right, one last thing. On this green, you have this green frame cut, and it's cut out the light green, and you can absolutely use that, but I wanted it to stand out. I was trying to catch that dark green in the paper and for it to look a little bit different than the greenery. So I took the bundled sage and went over the frame with it. All right. So now we're going to put the card together. Oh, you know what? Before we do that, let's layer up our butterflies so those are ready too. So all I did with these, I didn't do any coloring Just gonna put that right on top of each one. And then you can choose, if you want the pink body, you could. I chose the light blue. Or you could have 2 of one, 1 of the other, however you want to do it. And I left the antennas white on this. You can make them green, that might be cute too. You could use the ink and carefully ink that. Try not to catch the wings. All right, I think we're ready to assemble now. So we're gonna take this, we're gonna put that down onto the white card base. And then our frame is gonna go in just centered on the card, even border all the way around. Okay. And then what I did is I started with my butterflies, and what I'm going to do is put one, what are these called? One foam square in the center of these two, the top and bottom butterfly. And I'm going to put it where I want it, and that way I can still tuck things in there as I need to. Okay. So I'm going to do those, and then this one was glued straight down. But I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to put a little bit in the center in case I need to tuck anything. And I can always adhere it better later. So that's like that. And then we're just going to start tucking these things in. I'm going to use wet glue so I have a little bit of wiggle room. And we have one there. Have one coming here. Same thing on these. I'm going to cut off these two. I'm actually going to cut off some of that long portion too, because we don't really need it. And we have those poking out there. This is in here, and we have this butterfly's kind of hidden, so this flower is up on foam. And put some white adhesive on that. Okay. And then we have this guy. This one's kind of tucked behind there. I know that I put this up on foam, and I put it just like this. Okay, and then I'm going to tuck that piece back here. All right, and then this is also on foam, but first I'm going to tuck in. So on this die, it cuts for like these daisies and these little starbursts. It cuts 3 at a time, but this thing has 5 places for flowers. So if you wanted to run those back through again, you could, but 3 is a good number. And that is in here. It fills up that space. And there's really no right or wrong way. We're just filling it in. That is in here as well. So I'm going to go ahead and put this on, and then we'll tuck that in. Oops. Like so. And I like that. All right, so let's put our 3 little starburst flowers there. 1, 2. These remind me of Dr. Seuss flowers in the Horton Hears a Who. I don't know why, but they do. Maybe there's a whole world on there, who knows. And then I'm going to put those little daisies right here. Now the daisies have a hole in them, which can make it kind kind of difficult for it to stick to that little green part, but if you put enough on there, you can even kind of attach it to the top. I'm going to add prills where those openings are, so you won't see the other color coming from behind. So there's that. Real quickly, I think I'm going to pick, these are called fuzzy navel prills. And that is what I'm going to pick for the centers of those. So and just put a little, and I'm going to just, so that stays down, right, like that. And then get another coffee filter and just dump those on, let them sit for a minute. Not quite a minute, a few seconds. And then you've got pretty flower centers. And then to finish this card off, we have the Happy Birthday to You sentiment. And I just put it up on foam and just glued it right over these butterflies that are there. And that card is finished. Our next card is with Deepest Sympathy. Okay, so we have some more inking to do here, so we'll start with that. I'm going to get the Tattered Rose. I'll start with the pink. Do the edges. Onto the green. So I'm going to get the Bundled Sage. And I'm going to do the same with these. I'm going to come up from the bottom. And then we have the blue. We have, whoops, I did forget one little green piece here. I'm just going to get the bottom of that. Oops, I still need that. Okay, so the blue, I'm just gonna do the bottom of both. And then I have this little piece here too. I'm just gonna do the bottom of that. And then we have the little buds, and we're going to do those like we did the pink ones on the other card. So I'm going to ink the part with the crown, and then the pointy part of our little heart piece. So those are ready to go and be layered. So we'll start with our large pink flower. And this kind of has, this is gonna match up. You can see here where there's three pieces where there's lines. That's where this one's gonna pick up. It's gonna line up just like that. It won't line up perfectly up there at the top. There's really no right or wrong, but this seems to be the easiest way. So I'm gonna put some adhesive on the back of that. And then I did pop up the little center, so I'm gonna grab a, I may have to cut this one down, I think. Maybe a little too big. I'm just gonna cut a foam square in half. Put it on the back. There's that. And then for this piece, you have these two blue. One's a little bit shorter than the other. So the taller one is the one we're gonna layer up here. So we're gonna put this bud looking piece down at the bottom, and then that little green piece is gonna go on top. to look like that. It's focusing. And then I will layer up my little buds. And lastly, that vein on the leaf. Okay, so now we can put the card together. So what I cut for the kit is a little different than my sample. I didn't like that didn't go all the way to the edge. It felt unfinished. So these are gonna go all the way to the edge, and we use the pattern paper instead of the blue. And I think it adds a little bit more. You're gonna be happy. Either way, the card looks fine, but I like this better. So we're gonna put down the blue pattern paper. And these were cut using the Lawn Fawn stitched rectangles, stackable dies. So it gives a nice little stitching around the edge. And then these were also cut that way so it has that stitching, and then we use the hillside borders to cut those so that it all just adds a subtle detail. So these I did pop up with foam. All right, I'm gonna peel off the backing, and then the smaller piece, the thinner piece, one's a little bit larger than the other, it goes on top. And there kind of is a right and a wrong direction for the flower, so that should help too. And then this goes on the bottom. We're just gonna line it right up with the edge of the card. And you have this pretty blue window peeking. And now we're just gonna layer up our greenery. So I have this leafy piece popping out from there. We're gonna have our flower here. We're gonna have our single blue flower popping here. So I'm gonna use a little bit of foam. So for this one, I'm gonna put 2 foam squares. So I'll go ahead and put that there. Before I press it down, I'm gonna go ahead and tuck this piece in. This is gonna go back here. And again, I'm noticing, I'm gonna see those little green dots poking out, so I'm gonna trim those off. You don't have to do that. It really would be fine either way. So that's gonna go in there. And this is gonna go there. So I'm gonna put a little piece of foam on the back of that leaf, in the middle, and it's gonna come down like that. This is gonna go right there. Put some wet glue so that stays. And then we have this this blue flower, and that's gonna tuck in there. So it's up to you if you wanna glue it. I'm gonna glue mine straight down. Or you could pop it up if you wanted to have it at the same. It's really up to you. This one's, I'm gonna glue straight down here. And then we have, oh, I guess I need to put that one out. I'm actually gonna put that one up on foam. Foam square. We will poke that one there. And then lastly, I need to put on the little buds. So there's one. Oops, stay on there. 2 and 3. Okay. So there's the floral arrangement, and then lastly we're going to tuck in that sentiment. So on this card I have, with deepest sympathy, happy anniversary would be pretty. Like I said, you can really flip these around however you want. I have foam on this, so I'm going to put a thin strip foam on the back. And it looks like on, no, I'm just just gonna leave it like that. On this one, I have this part popped up too. I kind of remember now. I put 2 foam squares there so that could pop up farther than this. But this one, I'm just gonna chuck that sentiment right over that flower. And that card is finished. Holding You in My Prayers is our next card. A little butterfly body stuck to the bottom. Stick him right there for now. All right, so the first thing we're gonna do with this one is we're gonna put our little butterfly together. So on this butterfly, I did use a different shade of pink. I went with spun sugar on this one, and we're just gonna do the same. Lightly start in the center and circle our way out. Just like that. I'm not even gonna go all the way out to the center. And then we're gonna glue this guy on top. So, and then we're gonna put the little black body on there. I know I put way too much glue on there, but that's okay. All right, I'm gonna set that aside until we're ready for it. Now, on my card, I'm just realizing on this particular one, I only glued down the body so I could pull up the wings. So that's an option if you want to. I just glued mine all the way down, but what I could do is still take it and bend it up and just glue it down on its body if you still want to have that 3D effect, okay? All right, so now we can put this together. So you're gonna take this green paper with a circle cut out. And we're gonna put that in the center of our card. And then this rectangle is gonna go for that centered, so you'll have a nice green border. Okay. And then we have this here. I'm actually gonna start with the prayers and work my way up. Or you can use this as a guide. So you don't want it in the middle or you're not gonna have room for your prayers. So you could use that as a guide, this prayers die cut, to be sure you put this in the right spot. So what I'm gonna do is just put a very thin line of wet glue. This is gonna dry clear around the stitching on this. I am not doing the best job. That's okay. Around the stitching on that. And I'm gonna put it up here like so. And so that will mostly be hidden once that dries. Okay, so just around the outside. And then this frame is gonna go over that, like so. Now on this card, I popped up the frame. I'm gonna glue this one straight down. And because I did my butterfly differently, I think I'm just gonna pop up the butterfly instead. So you have different options. Okay. Put that on there like that. Okay. And then what I'm going to do is take a piece of foam and put it on either side of the body on the back, so like that. And I've already kind of folded that so that it looks like that. I'm going to put glue just on the body, pull off my foam backing pieces, and I'm going to stick down the body, and then that foam is going to keep those wings popped up. It will keep them from going flat. So that's another way to achieve that same look. Okay, so now for our prayers, our sentiment. So you should have a piece of fun foam that has been die cut, the word prayers. Mine is cut a little differently. You should have the foam, the prayers on the foam side and the adhesive side on the back. Mine is a little different. We did it wrong, so we just stuck it in my kit. But what you'll do is take some wet adhesive and cover the back of your prayers and then stick it onto the foam. Do not take your prayers out of the foam until you've done this part here. This will help it keep its shape, because once you pull that fun foam out, it likes to bend and stretch. So this, having that cardstock on there, will help ensure that it doesn't get all stretched out. Okay, and now I am going to stick down should just fit right in there. Okay, so I have that laid down, and then I'm going to actually just gently work that word, just gently going back and forth and working it. What you don't want to do is grab and just pull, because it's going to stretch it out. So just gently coax it out of there. All right, so we have that out, and then we need to poke out the centers. All right, we have our prayers layered and ready to go. And then from your sentiment strips, you're gonna need to find this one here. It says, holding you in my prayers, and we are going to trim off the prayers portion. I'm just gonna take some scissors. I'm gonna line it up with a P and make a straight cut. You can put it in your trimmer if you're uncomfortable with that. I'm gonna put some foam on the back of this as well. Go ahead. I don't have that glued down yet, but I have it in where I want it, and I'm gonna go and put the holding you in my, I have that lined all the way up with the green. You can go all the way to the edge of the card if you want. Now on yours, you're gonna peel off the backing and stick it down. Mine, I'm going to put the glue on the back of the foam. Right where I want it. And that card is finished. And our last card for today, and they lived happily ever after. I think we're gonna start with, we're gonna layer up all these pieces here. So you should have this. You should have with the flowers hanging, the stripes, the flowers, and then the same in a smaller strip. And then you have the black cardstock strip. So we're really gonna layer each one up. It's gonna have a thin border. So we'll go ahead and start with that. All right, so we have those ready to go. So what we're gonna do first, we're not gonna glue anything down. We're still gonna build on this green because we have to wrap the twine. So we're gonna build this part up first. So we're gonna start on the left side, put adhesive on one of the floral pieces, and then you're going to leave a thin green border on the top and the side. Then we're gonna grab the black and white strip and put that there, leaving that same border. And the last floral, like so. And I'm just eyeballing it here. All right, and then you're gonna complete that same pattern, and we're gonna line up with the bottom over here. So now, trying to stay in line, we're gonna put that one down. And the black. And then gonna look like that. And now you have two pieces of baker's twine. You have a longer one and a shorter one. We're gonna start with the longer. I'm gonna flip these over and put some adhesive just at the ends where those aren't, so that we can start with this. So I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna start it like so. Now you can also, you could use score tape here if you wanted to, or just plain old Scotch tape would work. So I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna kind of make an X. I'm gonna come back over. Now if you had a piece of washi tape and you wanna secure it, or a piece of score tape would be good here. Even foam, if you wanted to pop that up, you could. I think that's gonna be good. I'm actually just gonna snip that little piece off that's hanging. Okay, so we're good there. I'm just gonna press it in there, make sure it doesn't come off. And now we can glue it onto the black. And because there's a little bit of dimension with the foam, or the twine, I'm going to use wet glue. So foam would be good here to ensure a good, that won't be a problem for it to stick, but this will be good too. Just going to give it, and now we know that's not going to go anywhere. Okay, and now I'm going to take this extra piece, and up here, I'm gonna just tuck it under, and then I'm gonna tie a bow. I'm gonna pull it nice and tight. And then you could leave it big or small. So once I've got it tight, I'm just gonna hold my finger there and then get the bow to the size I want. And then I'm going to trim off the excess. All right, so it's going to look like that. And then the last thing we're going to do is put that sentiment on there. So if you don't need a wedding card, this would be pretty. Your kindness means so much. This is the longest sentiment that you have, and I kind of like how it reaches across the green, but this would be an anniversary card too. You could do, and they lived happily ever after. I almost did this, and then you could put the happy anniversary on there as well. So just some ideas, but I'm gonna go ahead and put this down. I'm gonna be mindful of that twine there. So I have a long skinny strip of foam, and I'm gonna put it there, and I'm gonna leave a little opening, and I'm gonna put a little on the end. All right, pulled off the backing, and now I'm gonna put that right across that opening, and it should hang off the green a little on both sides. And that completes, oh, actually, I need to glue this whole piece onto the black card base. So I'm just gonna put adhesive on that. And stick that on, and then our card will be finished. All right, that completes that card and our class for today. These are the cards we created. I hope you enjoyed this class, and thank you so much for joining us today. Have a great day.